Hello, welcome back. I got a few requests asking for tips on how to draw shoes, and since I have drawn shoes in the past, I guess that makes me qualified. Anyway, I'm going to be drawing shoes the same way I've drawn the last couple spreads, where I'm sort of gathering that reference vocabulary. We're going to be filling at least a spread with some shoes, and we'll just dive in and see what happens. Let's get right into it. Sketchbook, pencil, eraser. I've also collected a plethora of references on Pinterest, which I will have linked down below if you want to use the same ones. I have some photo references of shoes, boots. I also have some illustrative references so I can kind of see how other people like to simplify and bring those real physical objects into a illustrative sphere. The cool thing about shoes that I've learned over the past is that no matter how terribly you draw them, if you take the time to just put in laces, they will look like shoes. I thought we could start by just drawing straight from a reference. I figured the three main things people are looking for is like a boot, a sneaker, and then a Converse. Let's start with Converse. So I think the best way to start here is to just draw straight from the reference. There's 1 foot about here. One thing I learned when I was really new to drawing, I always forgot this sort of middle section here. I would draw the ankle, I'd draw the heel, and then I'd just go straight into trying to draw the toes, and it never looked right, and it never will, because that's not really how our feet work. So you gotta make sure you keep a nice space. A lot of the times I actually just draw a cylinder there. So I'm breaking it down into 3 shapes. You have the heel, the shaft of the foot, and then the toe section, which is only the very tip of this third. If you've put a lot of time into actually drawing feet, you might notice that switching over to drawing shoes feels completely different, and that's because the shape is very different. You really do have to practice both. Essentially, a shoe is just much less flexible. The tip of the foot is very rounded. For a Converse, you have that bottom section. I'm noticing that I've elongated the foot a lot more. Squish that up. More like that. Now when it comes to seams and like the sole, there is a bottom piece that goes all the way around the entire shoe like this, and it's straight on the edges. And then there's a black line right, unavailable is calling me, but yeah, no. And this area of the shoe has a lot of action going on. So you've got the tongue of the shoe is right here, these little flaps, and follow the curve of the shoe to about there. And the same thing on the other side. One thing I will recommend, I do like to draw with pen when I'm like practicing something new, but shoes, there's just so many crisscrossing lines and like complicated features that I would definitely recommend using a pencil. Because when I like to use pen, it's usually because I'm like blocking out shapes and learning the structure, but like something about shoes, like that just doesn't really apply. I did break it down into less complex shapes, but then it's time to build up from there. So if I had done that in pen, it'd be a little confusing. Anyway, there's also a seam right here of contrasting stitches. Kind of follows that this way. And I've noticed another thing about getting shoes to look good is by trying to cram in as many details as possible. White section right here. The toe. Then you got your laces. Laces are complicated because they're like crisscrossing each other so much. I do usually just simplify it, figure out where the little rings are. Roughly the same number that real shoe would have. And then I kind of usually just throw them in there pretty nonchalantly. I suppose I could try to add in the crisscrossies. Probably would help make it look more realistic. I will do line art just to figure out what it is I actually drew. Because sometimes when you have all those different competing lines, you're not sure which ones are the real ones. Ooh, I changed that line a little. I'm changing a lot of lines, hopefully for the best. This shoe is kind of bending a little, and I don't think I captured that, so that's something I'm going to keep in mind. And then you need the stitching, and then the white toe. Gotta throw in these lines here too. The end of the flap. And then see how adding in these like little extra stitches make a big difference? Now there is that like black line that goes right in the between here and ends right there. That I feel like makes a huge difference when I realized that existed. I'm just gonna add this pant leg. Should I draw the other foot maybe too? The heel starts almost right where this toe ends. Now they do get pretty flat at the end of the foot, it looks like. Logo, star, stitches right there. Has little circles here. The tongue, and then again the laces. Guess you're supposed to draw properly, but I'm always so lazy about it. Okay, so now that I had drawn this one, I kind of took what I learned from it to apply here, and it came out way faster. That might be just because I have drawn shoes in the past. But you kind of just have to stick with it and figure out which elements you like to sort of cheat on and which ones you like to emphasize, and that kind of becomes your style. Definitely looks like one foot is bigger than the other, so maybe they're not from the same foot. I won't draw the same pants so that maybe it's less obvious. I will take my sign pen, I think, and color these in black. Get out the white gel pen for that stitching. Could have been executed better. Maybe it just needs another layer. Or they're too big of like stitches, maybe. I think the laces are what's fighting me there. It really is tricky figuring out how to draw those. Maybe simplify it on this one. Kind of find some of the lines I like. The laces though, I get so confused. Simplify that logo. I'm gonna draw these way smaller and see if that looks better. I always draw this part of the laces first because it overlaps the other ones. And I draw like little C shapes so that you can kind of shove the laces in. Then you gotta go back in and add the end of this. There's kind of just sort of an order of operations because you can't do one until you know what one of the other pieces look like, you know? Kind of like the one black, one white shoe thing. I really like this angle of the shoe, but obviously this one, ooh, this is the one I need to practice a bit more. So I might try to draw that shoe again, but bigger. So this guy right here. Grab my pencil and see if from going to this shoe to this shoe, I can now, what I learned from drawing both those shoes, apply to the first shoe and see what happens. Draw a big shape. That's the goal, basically, when using references and learning something new is each time you draw something, whether it turns out well or poorly, you're still retaining knowledge and learning stuff. I might have to break this down. I am confused. I can't say I draw shoes in this angle very often. I feel like most of my feet always look like this. You have the one facing towards you, and then you have the one facing away. But clearly this is not either of those. Maybe if I draw in the ankle. Sole of the shoe here. It kind of gets wider as it gets closer because of perspective. Oh, you know what I forgot on this shoe? Is this little black ring right here. What am I missing? These pieces kind of flap off of there. Am I just elongating the foot too much? So this is kind of rounded like this around the ankle. This is where there's laces. I feel like there's something that's not quite clicking in the brain, whether it's turning out well or not. The line here, I think. The reference is a little blown out, so I can't quite tell. But that doesn't look right. There's two laces coming out of the same place. I think that works. But like I said, something's just not quite clicking. Maybe a little shadow. Understand the shape. Let me try drawing just a straight up foot back here. Using the most simple shapes possible. Add this onto the bottom. This piece, tongue, the laces go here. So like this is how I would simplify it if I was drawing it myself. Well, I guess I am drawing it, but you know what I mean, don't you? Knee, and the other leg would be here. Kind of come straight at you. Add in that line here, maybe a sock. Yeah, I'm liking the simplified version a little better, which is probably why I usually do something more like that when in drawing for myself. But when we're using references, we should definitely take advantage of the actual photos. Grab another one. Ooh, I love this one. This is definitely an angle that I don't often draw shoes. See how this shoe is straight on with the camera? I think that reference will be very helpful since I do tend to draw shoes in that angle a lot. I'm going to draw them both at the same time since they seem kind of important in relationship to each other. So I'm gonna break this down. This is the right foot, so it's gonna curve this way. It's coming this way. So now I can kind of see that this one looks like it's too big. Yeah. Should just glue this in here. This is where the ankle starts because you're seeing the top of the foot. And this one, the laces aren't tied, so it'd be kind of cool to try and draw that too. Logo here. It's kind of like the blunt shape of it. And then this one. I don't even know what to say. Hopefully maybe it's a little helpful, like just sort of seeing the strokes I'm making. I don't know. Got this contrasting thread here, and then you have the end of the flap out here, and the other one's there. so confusing that that's the left foot because it's on the right side. I'm trying to make sure they're like roughly the same size. And this one I definitely want to color because that red color is just too beautiful. I'm also noticing that you don't see any of the back leg, but mine has some shin action. Ooh, there's texture here. Interesting. So this reference is less blown out, so I can kind of see that. There's also a little logo on the back. Now because the top pieces aren't tied, you actually see more of the tongue. And then these kind of just sort of flap backwards. And then you have the laces kind of folding into each other. And they get closer here and fold out. Erase some of these extra lines. You don't see those laces either. And there's the extra little grommet there. Hey, I remembered the word. These little holes, they're called grommets. I think I will add line art and color to these. And then you're gonna be able to see like where that like black seam is here. Nice and thick. The one on the bottom. And I can probably switch to the line art, the finer pen, and draw in the line art. Now it is a canvas shoe, so there's wrinklage happening. I'm going to be very careful with these laces and see if I can get them right. A little confusing because like here it's starting to wrap around and you don't see the other laces, but the way I drew it you actually can. Little line underneath there. Now should I add in this texture? Maybe if I can lightly. Oh, that actually looks really good. I'm glad I added that. And the grommets, the tongue. It actually looks like it's curling. I think that's my favorite. I really like drawing it from the inside where you get to see like the logo and the grommet. Okay, let's try this straight on shoe. We got that texture. Now the laces. I find it easier if I start at the bottom. Now it would be harder if I had to draw a bow at the top, but since I don't, I'm gonna try to draw these properly. The laces don't have to be like perfect rectangles or anything. I like these little squiggly ones better and they look more like the shoe here. And then the extra grommet at the top. This tongue kind of sticks out a little. And there's another logo. This might be my favorite so far, which is good. It means we're progressing. Makes me very happy. Definitely need to color these ones. Let's find a red marker. Might be a little dark. Color in everything except the tippy toe and the bottom. And not the laces either. Ooh, it's kind of actually confusing. I don't know what's a lace and what's not. And then this one as well. And then we'll add in the white gel pen when this is nice and dry. I think the reason the gel pen wasn't working as well that first time was because it wasn't quite dry. But markers happen to dry a lot faster, so we should be good. Forgot this logo. Let's do the white gel pen on the tongue, all along this edge. Little dots, little dots. Some back here too. And then these little ones right here. Oops, got a fade there. Don't hit the grommets. Way far away from those. I think it's working. And there's this weird horseshoe right here. I like it. Try and fill this little space. I'm gonna try and draw this shoe again, but from nothing. Break foot into 3 sections. You got the heel back there, front of the foot there. Flatten this out. Add in your little white contrasting toe. Laces here. Kind of got a Converse. Add a little liner to see. I want to try and use the gooier looking laces compared to those straight ones. I like that so much better. Let me know what you think. There's my shoe from my imagination. I think mine are ending up a lot wider than they are in reality. Whatever. I feel like we should draw a different kind of shoe next, but I'm gonna fill one more Converse here. So I have like a triangle for the foot. I like to draw this little cylinder right here. The toes there. The leg comes out from there. Not like that. We'll add in the Converse. Very simple shapes. Round out the toe. Add in the flat sole. There's this. And there's the tongue. You can add in the logo here. Little grommets, laces. So we have that sketchy looking thing. I feel like then when I go in with the liner, it always looks a lot better. Little texture. That's something I forgot on mine. Laces. Let's try that same thing except including the bow. And I want it to all be kind of squiggly. Or little C shapes. Kind of reminds me of the Grinch cartoon. Something about the way that foot turned out. Now it's a leg. That's a pretty good testament to using the pencil technique for shoes. You can build up and find the lines over time instead of having to be perfect first go around, because it's not really about the basic shapes. When you're drawing shoes, it's a lot more about the details. I think we should try another kind of shoe. Kind of thinking about doing these boots. I think boots are tricky to draw. I have this black one and a yellow one, and I thought the yellow one you could see the seams better. So let's do that one. The part that I always forget about boots is how this seam is cut. I don't know what it is, it just doesn't load into the brain. That's something we definitely need to visit. If I draw in a foot here, there's my foot. It's this little line right here where it's like a C square and then it comes back up. And like, you'll notice this in a lot of different boots, not just Doc Martens. I feel like it's a very valuable shape to learn. And then you have the toe. There's a lot less going on here. And then you have a little seam for the heel. There's the sole here with a little bit of a heel. Follows the base. So I think I just need to fix this little line again. Curls towards the toe, up to the laces, follows that seam. And there's also, looks like a little seam back there between those lines. If you want to see someone who can draw Doc Martens really good, I would check out the Batgirl of Burnside comics. Abstar draws really awesome Doc Martens, especially yellow ones. And then they got laces again. I think I'll try and simplify the laces. Now they are little skinny laces. They're like those like rope kind. I feel like I should draw that differently. They also have the little, what do you call that thing? There's also like stitching along here. And some like ridges in the base of the shoe. Let's try adding in some line art and see if I've figured it out. Now drawing from references is all good and handy, but what I've noticed when trying to draw shoes from reference, like if I draw an illustration, then I'm looking for a reference for how I drew the foot so that I can find a nice shoe. It's often very difficult to find one in the exact position that you've drawn your foot. And so it is pretty important to be able to draw them like in the angles so that they're easy to find. And if you understand the layout and everything, you'll be able to break it down and draw it in other angles. If you can find different angles, draw them all, and then eventually maybe you'll be able to draw it from any angle. Each shoe's different and everything, but the lessons you'll learn from drawing them are pretty universal. Now it actually comes away from the foot, and then here. Bubbles down there, little ridges, and you have this edge here. There we go. There's a little canvas. I got it colored in that yellow, right? Looks like it could be close. Let me just try this other one. Might be closer. I feel like it's right between those two, but I'll just make the executive decision to use this one. And then there's black laces, so I should probably just color those in instead of drawing them hollow. Might fade into the other one here. There, I used them both. I can actually color right over the laces if they're gonna be black. There's also the little seams here, so I can kind of just do that. And then go over with the sign pen and color in all the black. And this part too. A lot of black on this. And then this. Oh, I feel like there could have been a better way to do that. That actually was fine. Wait, I don't know why I second guessed myself there. Leave a little line there. Just draw in these. I feel like it needs a little shading because it is like a leather, you know? And just layer it over again with this. I'd say that looks like a Doc Marten. I keep drawing them longer though. Have you noticed? Mine all have much longer toes than the references. What I would really like to do is just draw a person with shoes. I like drawing people, okay? Shoes are just something that's a part of people. We'll just draw a character wearing shoes because I feel like it. Got some ears. Make sure the feet fit in here. Very important. See this little angle here. Ooh, what if we do something interesting with the foot? Kind of like this first one. I think that means I have to bring this foot a lot further over. I think I'm finding it in here. Draw super simple shapes while I'm figuring that out. I also don't know which shoe I'm drawing. What about little overalls? Or an overall dress, maybe? With like a stripy tank top. I'll take it. I do need to sharpen my pencil though. It just keeps getting shorter. Nearly unusable. Stripes, stripes, stripes. Maybe a little pocket on either side. was gonna do striped tights, but that's too many stripes, okay? Now for shoes, what do we want down here? I didn't draw the sneakers yet. I'm not vibing with the sneakers right now. I guess we could keep doing the Doc Martens because I only drew one. Now this is a lot smaller than some of the other ones I've drawn. The knee should be up there. So we're gonna shove a Doc Marten in here. It would end here maybe. Block in the boot shape. Give her tights to here, why not? Might turn this one just a little more. You gotta figure out this funky shape from a different angle. So it comes down where the laces are, squared, and then curls back. Okay, that seems so simple. I don't know why I forget it every time. Comes out, curls back. Then you have laces, but they're black, so I don't really feel like I need to draw those much. You can see that little thing back there. Super sketchy, but I feel like liner will fix that.
Liner will fix that.
Famous last words. Now the laces are black, so I can just sort of do that. Same thing back here. Add in the laces. Now I am drawing it smaller, so it's probably a good idea to simplify even my shoe up there, you know? You kind of have to take that into account. I think what's important for the Doc Marten is having that sole that kind of like jets out, this little line here. Color that in, color in up here. Seam line, stitching thing. You don't really see any of this line here, so I don't really have to worry about that. I did not draw hands, I'm just realizing. Whoopsie. I guess in my mind, like, the hands were in the pockets, but clearly that didn't ever happen. Silly, silly. I feel like I've got like jitteriness in my arms, like I'm like, I just gotta draw fast. It's having an interesting effect on the results of what I'm making. You got a face. Let's go for the little bun back here. I gotta at least color in the shoes. Should we just do the yellow shoes maybe? Or black? Well, black you're not gonna see much. I also feel like you'd see some of this foot back here. Look at that. Maybe we'll do red since there's red over here and there's no red over here. Good thinking. But these little seams down here still needs to be yellow. It's a Doc Marten thing. And this thing back there. What if I give her a yellow dress? Ketchup and mustard. I like the black and white stripes with the yellow jumper. I feel like she could use tights. A little bit more wintry. Pulling that out with a lighter one. Shading here. And then for hair, we could probably go red. Just realized she's weirdly long. When I normally draw, I don't sit where I sit when I'm filming. I don't realize that I'm stretching out my characters like that. You guys gonna get sick of that excuse, but it's true. Little cheeks and ears. This is a juicy one. I need some hair. What's this? Let's do this auburn kind of color. This is very red, but I feel like it passes more as a hair color than if I just used the boot color. There's the white gel pen. I just spent like the last 2 minutes looking for that. I feel like I'm kind of grasping it, but I don't know if I'm transferring any knowledge to you. Maybe if I grab my pencil, we draw a shoe, draw a square for like the heel to the foot, shin, boot. You see those shapes? That's kind of what I have in my mind, even when I draw it straight on. So like that's the first rectangle. So then I'll draw the middle one, and then I'll draw that piece. So then you end up with a straight across foot, and this leg kind of does whatever, you know? And that's it from the side. And then from there, it's just about finding the specific shoe you want to draw and drawing it. Let's practice this line. Ready? It comes down, squares off, and comes around like that. I did it. I did it. That's dark. This is all dark. And it kind of comes away from the shoe like that. It's important if you're specifically drawing docs. You have those little black laces. There's lots of like lines here. So yeah, that was me drawing shoes and some boots. Thanks for watching. If you want to see some of the reference I used, I'll have them linked if you need to use them yourself. If you want to be able to like zoom in and stuff, it's really helpful. Best of luck with all your shoe drawing adventures. I don't usually draw shoes as like a point of focus. I like them just being at the bottom of my character's feat. But it was really cool, like digging in and learning more details on a Converse, and I think that's definitely going to help me further on. The last time I did this, I learned about like this line and this section. That made a big difference with my sort of simplified shoes. If you learned even the smallest little thing from drawing shoes today, you'll remember, trust me. Like even if you don't realize it now, the next time you sit down to draw a shoe, it's just gonna happen, and it's just a beautiful moment. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys all next week, and I hope you have a delicious evening full of waffles. Bye! Ooh, it's gonna kill. Beautiful. Bye!